You like it?
Polly seconds that motion. But what? Let's just ponder upon those words we just sang, ladies. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from my Father's hand. Till he returns or calls me home, here in the power of his grace. I know it says here in the power of Christ. But here in the power of Christ's grace, I'll stand. I pray this morning that we are standing firm. I pray this morning that, I walked in this morning to have time with the Lord and to read over my notes, and I saw the notes on the cross. And I couldn't help but tear up. I couldn't help but think that people found sufficiency in the cross to lay their burdens down. And I know many women probably walked out of here struggling to let go of what their weaknesses are. But I pray that whatever your weakness is, the cross is there. And I want it to be present this morning, not because I want it to be a symbol that remains in our minds, in our hearts, when we walk away from this place. That His grace was not just sacrificial for us. His grace was sufficient. It's enough. No matter what you're going through, God's grace is enough. So in the first session, we looked at God's grace is sacrificial. The second session, we looked at God's grace is? God's grace is? Sufficient. And today, we are going to look at God's sustaining grace. How God's grace, once I find my notes, what? I lost my marker. Okay. How God's grace sustains us. In the first session, we looked at how to grasp God's grace and understand the grace of God upon our lives. And we looked at how to receive God's grace and make it personal in our lives. And then in the third session, we looked at how to apply God's grace. Well, it's interesting because as Yana was praying this morning, she kept praying about, Lord, teach us to continue in your grace. And this morning, that is exactly what we're going to talk about.